Greetings, everyone. I'm Declassified Dave, 1/3 of the Hush Hush Society Conspiracy Hour podcast, and you're listening to Infinite Rabbit Hole.
Welcome back to the Infinite Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Jeremy, and today we have a special guest, but before we get into that, I'd like to say welcome back to the Paranormal Network as well. It's been quite the ride so far. Awesome stuff. We love it here. We feel like it's home, and we feel like we've finally found the place we belong. Before we get into all the really exciting stuff for tonight and the true topic, let's go ahead and get everybody brought in. Let's talk about Big Sweaty Jake. What's going on, man? See your muscles ripping through your shirt.
Oh, yes. So strong in this silly Infinite Rabbit Hole shirt. No, I'm good. Just got out of PT, jumped in the shower, and now I'm here, and I'm stoked for this weekend. I get to go do a trout fishing competition with my dad, paired in with a Christian men's retreat, so it should be cool. So rolling up there to Fresno here tomorrow, and then on Friday, he and I are jetting up to Hume Lake, so I'm pretty stoked for the weekend. A lot of good stuff planned.
Any Bigfoot up there?
Probably not right where the campsite is. It's been there for about 100 years, and it's pretty popular over there. But around that area, it's fairly remote, so maybe on the outskirts and stuff. But none of the wildlife really come into the camp area, even though the cabins are pretty spread out and stuff. Because there's usually a bunch of kids out there and stuff, because they have a bunch of middle school and high school retreats and stuff like that. So a bunch of kids screaming and whatnot, and then people shooting guns and stuff. There's probably not a lot of Sasquatch activity right near the area, but outside, sure.
So no wildlife coming into the camp, but is there going to be any Jakes going into the wild?
Depends on how hot the fishing is, I suppose.
Okay.
If we're absolutely killing it. I mean, they stocked that lake last year. I think the biggest rainbow trout that was caught that got the prize for the longest was like 27 inches. So it's like they put some big old fish in that thing. So if the fishing is just killing it, I'm probably not going to be wandering around. We'll see.
Right on. Well, let's go ahead and bring in the next host, Kenzar. How are you? You've been promoted.
Yes. Yes. I've gone up a rank. Sweet.
You've been promoted from kid to child.
Oh. That's not as catchy though.
No, how you been?
I'm all right. I just finished my dinner, so I'm full of energy and food and ready to go.
Was it French fry and gravy soup?
Yeah.
Was it really?
It was my poutine. Yes, I had poutine for dinner.
So for all the Americans that don't know what that is, come on, can you please explain it?
It is literally just French fries covered in cheese curds and gravy. If you haven't tried it, do it. You're welcome.
It's a Canadian thing, everybody.
It's delicious. It is delicious.
I heard that you have to like slurp it, like
no,
like in the Asian countries where you slurp your soup.
No, that's not a requirement. If you want to, I ain't gonna judge you, but it's not a requirement by any means, and most people would probably ask you not to.
So here in America, we have pie eating contests, right? Where we tie people's hands behind their backs. Do you guys do that with poutine?
No,
I heard
we
they put them
not.
in feeder bags, like for horses, or like with oats, and they strap them to their heads and they just eat it all day long.
I also heard this.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No. These are all just stereotypical rumors.
Okay.
All right, moving on. Moving on to Jeff with no hat. Jeff with no hat, how are you doing?
Yes, I am Jeff with no hat today. I shaved my head last night. I also trimmed the beard down.
I know, it's like we're looking at a man standing up, but his head's on upside down.
Still full and voluptuous as always, but it is not quite as gangly as it was getting.
You wouldn't make a good mermaid, Jeff.
Wow.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, you would.
I resent that
He'd
statement.
Strap a fish top on him. He'll be fine.
Sure.
Yeah. But no, I'm here, man. I'm good. Today was a good day. Worked like always. I finally hit 1,000 TikTok followers again. So give it 2 days and I'll probably be banned again from another account. But it's been fun.
Right on. Where can they follow you?
Shadowban _ podcast. Shadow _ band _ podcast.
Try a mixture of those words, and you'll find something that's
Something.
either.
It's there. It's whatever it is. It won't be there for long, I promise. This will be the third account. So like I said, I give it 2 or 3 days and I'll be done. So
All right. Well, nobody cares about us. What they care about is our guest. So
yes.
let me go ahead and bring in our special guest today with a nice little write-up that I did for him, just like I always do. Today, we have a different and special episode for you. We start a new series that we are calling the Researcher Spotlight Series. And today, we welcome back an infinite rabbit hole favorite, Mr. Denver Michaels. Denver is an author, blogger, and researcher who has published 10 different books diving into not only the world of the paranormal and supernatural, but also into the history tied to subjects and locations involved. Denver has made 2 other appearances on our audio-only episodes to talk about particular books of his, but today we bring him on to do something a little different. Today we dive into the path that Denver took to become the author and investigator he is today, the stories behind some of his favorite experiences, and his personal beliefs in these amazing topics. I am proud to be able to welcome back a good friend of ours, Denver Michaels. Welcome back to the Infinite Rabbit Hole, sir.
Hey man, it's good to be back with y'all.
This is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Like I said there in the intro, I've had Denver on a couple times where, we were talking about a book that he put out, which is always fun. Everyone knows I love books. I read them, and Denver's one of my favorite authors, if not my absolute favorite. He does amazing work tying in the supernatural and history. But Denver, I am extremely excited to be able to talk to you, as a researcher.
Yeah. I mean, it's always fun to get on and not be tied to a particular book or subject.
So, Denver, we have a whole new audience this time. Why don't you go ahead and give everybody, a little bit about you, a little bit of background on Denver Michaels, the researcher and author.
Well, basically, I'm just a guy that writes about unexplained subjects. I'm interested in everything from lake monsters, Bigfoot, any kind of cryptid to ghosts, hauntings, that sort of thing. Not real big into ufology, a little bit, but I kind of stay away from that because ufology can get kind of messy. but yeah, I'm just kind of like into weird things and just tend to write about it. I also travel full time, and I've got a series of books where I kind of marry my travels and into the unexplained as well.
That is the Detours in the Paranormal, right?
Yeah, I've got I want to say like 5 books in that series, and it's kind of they're kind of like how do I want to say, like part travel memoir and part cryptids and part ghosts, just all kinds of weird things with that I look into in various locations that I travel to. It's fun for me to write those books because I really enjoy traveling and really enjoy the unexplained. So it's been a lot of fun to do those.
Well, it makes out for some fantastic books. I love your books. I have 4 of them now, and my collection will grow. I promise you.
Yeah, I wrote it down so I can check it out too.
You can find all of his books right on Amazon.
I've actually got a new one coming out, and I'm going to get you a copy from the publisher. I'm doing another book. I did the Strange Tales from Virginia's Mountains, and I've got a new one coming out about it'll be tentatively called Strange Tales from Virginia's Foothills to the Coast. So it'll cover like the whole eastern central eastern part of Virginia, and it'll be a lot like the other one that I did, but it's got a lot of its own little quirky things. So I'm looking forward to that one coming out.
Awesome. Is that going to cover Hampton Roads too? That's where I'm at.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit from just pretty much east of the Blue Ridge. It'll pretty much be just
Awesome.
weird stories, kind of like the first book. Like one part's going to deal with cryptids, another part's just like miscellaneous weird tales. And in this one, it was kind of fun because in the second part of the book, I actually included a section on just various buried treasure legends throughout Virginia. And
Oh
and the
yeah.
fun thing about buried treasure, it's one of those things once you go down the rabbit hole of buried treasure, I mean, it just like goes into cryptids and ghosts and it just all this kind of weird stuff. So I won't give too much away about it, but that's kind of the a synopsis of what the book is going to include.
Well, copy that, Denver. I think that's a good segue into the rest of the episode. What do you think, guys?
Wonderful.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
What do you got, Jake? Say things.
Well, I was gonna ask. I'm writing down these book titles. I know Jeremy's, the guy that reads all your stuff. I have not, and so I'm writing them all down. So I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna buy these. But besides your books, including just tales from that area and I imagine legends from that area. Do you do any of your own investigating and looking into it and stuff to see if there's any like validity to these sorts of things, or is just reporting on the local legends?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely, and I don't really call myself a Bigfoot investigator or paranormal investigator, but I do investigate things. I mean,
Hmm.
before I started traveling, one of the big things I was into in Virginia, and this isn't as sexy as Bigfoot or Dogman, right? But I mean, there's just always been tales of mountain lions, cougars in Virginia. I can remember, my
Hmm.
grandfather telling me about, not only mountain lions and cougars down in southwestern Virginia, where I'm originally from, and where my family's from, but also like Black Panther sightings, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
one of the big things I was into, before I started traveling full time and still lived in Virginia, was trying to obtain whatever evidence I could that that there were cougars um, in Virginia, and of course I've investigated Bigfoot sightings. A lot of the places known for lake monsters or aquatic cryptid.
I feel like there's some level of, I don't know, experience you have to have before you call yourself a researcher, right? And it's just like it seems like it's difficult to be put in a place of just saying like I'm just interested in a topic, right? And I just like to look around and poke around and flip over logs and look for footprints and stuff like that, right? Like I am not a researcher. I think that Bigfoot is probably real because I saw a big old gnarly footprint one time and heard some gnarly screams out in the woods. And so I was just like, all right, well, after Jeremy telling me about his experience and stuff, like I could consider myself someone who's interested in finding Bigfoot, but I'd never call myself a researcher because I'd imagine there's some level of like, you gotta, I don't know, interview people or, constantly be out there looking for it or something like that. So,
Mm.
hearing Denver kind of throw it out there and just say, yeah, like, yeah, I'm not really a researcher. I just am interested in this sort of thing. And, it's just like, all right, yeah, I'm
Well, I
jiving with
mean,
that. Yeah.
I don't. I think. Well, let me add on to that though. I think a lot of people take themselves way too seriously with this
Sure.
stuff. Like people really set you know, like what is a cryptozoologist, right? you
Right.
can't get a degree for this stuff. I mean, what are credentials? What is a researcher? What is an investigator? And you know, a lot of people try to set themselves up as, you know, I'm an expert because I've been doing this for 30 years. Well, yeah, you've been doing this for 30 years, but you still haven't really found anything, if we're being honest, right? I mean,
Right.
you might have a good cast, right? That makes me kind of wonder, but nobody's really figured anything out. So, I'm a big believer in there are no experts in any of this stuff, and so you know that's just kind of, I think people take themselves way too seriously in this stuff sometimes. You know, like a
Yeah,
lot
for
of your
sure.
paranormal investigators. Well, we still don't really know what a ghost is now, do we?
Right.
That's true.
Do we?
No, you're right. You're right. There, I mean, plenty of people have their own opinions on what it could possibly
Yeah.
be. But like the cryptozoologist that's been doing it, you know, cryptozoologist that's been doing it for 30 years, calling themselves an expert. I mean, I think an expert might have figured it out.
Well, you could also call yourself, if you've been doing it for 30 years, an abject failure, right? Because you've not really figured anything out. So, I mean, people just need
Snap.
to calm. People just need to calm down with some of these
Look,
titles and labels and what's an investigator, what's a research. Yeah, I don't really know what any of it is. And that's why I say I'm just a guy that likes to write about weird stuff.
Love it.
I
Love
mean,
it.
if it's all the same to you guys, if they're a cryptozoological expert is someone who has yet to find the thing that they're searching after, then all of us are experts. So I mean, I'm down with wearing a little badge that says expert on it.
We should make a shirt that has that there.
Yeah.
We should.
Little badge that said
All right.
says I'm an expert cryptozoologist.
He's writing it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
And I didn't say that to insult anybody out
No,
there
for
either.
sure.
I just want everybody to calm down.
I'm
sometimes.
insulted, Denver.
I'm offended
Well,
too.
you know, some of your, some of your, so you know, there's people on like Twitter and YouTube can be pretty. They can be a lot to deal with.
Yeah, no, we get it. We get it.
All right.
So
T-shirt idea. I'm an expert cryptozoologist, and then with a hyphen, haven't found anything yet.
you need to do it for cryptozoologist,
Yeah.
paranormal investigator, and
All of it.
ufologist. All of it.
All of it. Yep.
All of it. All right. All right, Denver. So let's get into some of these tough questions. So how did you get into the world of the unknown? Give us the background on how did Denver become Denver?
Well, I guess this is kind of one of those weird things, and a lot of people kind of find it hard to believe that, you know, I didn't have a Bigfoot sighting when I was, you know, at Boy Scout camp, or I didn't see a UFO when I was 10. I didn't grow up in a haunted house. You know, I did not have, you know, that experience that, you know, led me in this direction that a lot of people do. And, you know, a lot of people really, you know, think it's kind of weird that I would, you know, go in the direction that I am, not having that life-changing experience where I'm kind of spending my adult years, you know, trying to figure out what was behind it. But, I really can't point to any one thing. I'll say that as a kid, you know, y'all are younger than me, but you know, like watching a
Denver.
episode of Super Friends, you know, back in 1979, you know, like the Universe of Evil episode where there was like a parallel universe that, you know, where there's like a bad Superman and a good Superman, and there was like an evil Wonder Woman and an Aquaman with an eye patch and all that. It just got me like really, you know, I'm like 6 years old, like really wondering if there are parallel universes. And, you know, I don't know, you know, obviously being that young, I couldn't really, you know, hash any of that out at that age, but it was really like something that stuck with me. there was like another TV show when I was a kid. I think it only lasted like a season or two, but it's called Voyagers. It was like about time travel, and that really kind of stuck with me. I remember in middle school, I'm checking out books on ESP, astral projection, just these weird books. My dad would like kind of roll his eyes when he see me reading them and stuff, But I was reading about ESP, and I'd lay out like spoons, and like try to focus on them and like bend them with my mind, like I was reading about. And I don't know, I guess it's just I've just always been open minded. I've always believed that we just really don't know everything there is to know about the world that we live in. We don't know about the untapped powers in our minds, and I don't know. I guess I can't really explain it. I guess I'm just kind of wired that way.
Or I'm wired that way. That's a good thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think so. I think so.
Jeff's eyes perked up when you talked about astral projection.
Astral projection and ESP. Yeah, man, that's something that I actually have done a lot of reading on. It's super interesting stuff. So
Yeah,
I saw a hair pop up on his head.
yeah,
That's how you
I
can tell he's
really
excited.
was. I really was for a long time, like in middle school and stuff. I was really into that, and I really wanted, I was reading, like trying to figure out how I could do it, and was like trying to do it, but I never could get it to quite work out. But like in my adult life, I have lucid dreamed, not like really trying to, but like I have had the lucid dreams several times, and that's kind of wild, but
Gosh,
to say the
I
least.
wish that I could lucid dream. I think if
Yeah.
I could lucid dream, I think
It-
my life would be a lot better.
you can.
Well,
you just got to learn how
you-
to do it, really.
Yeah.
I heard you shit your
guess-
pants when you learn.
No.
Yeah.
Well-
I didn't really like. I don't really know how to do it, but like there have been, I'm thinking off the top of my head, like 3 instances, and the last time is probably like 4 or 5 years ago. But like I'm dreaming, and then like something like clicks in my head, and I realized I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
And then I like took control of my dream. Of course, it was some bizarre dream, like whatever. I'm like flying around on a dragon or something, because like I like took control of my dream, just like start doing what I wanted to. So I guess I wanted to act like I was in Never Ending Story or one of those
Right.
old childhood movies or something. But yeah, it's like it's just like really it's like really weird. But I've never really been able to figure out how to do it like when I wanted to. I'll just say that.
Well, Jake,
There's
you
a-
do it, don't you?
Really good book I would recommend here from Russell Targ, The Reality of ESP. It's a physicist's proof of psychic abilities. It's a good book.
Oh, cool. I just wrote that down, so I'll check that out.
Denver, we're going to have you on for another episode because Jeremy wants me to do an episode on lucid dreaming because I do mostly lucid dreaming. I very rarely have dreams where I don't realize that I'm dreaming. And
Wow, that's awesome.
it's not like, it's like the parameters are usually set already, but I can still realize that I'm dreaming and I can control some things or like realize that I'm having a nightmare and this isn't real. It's like, I don't see the dog that's turning into a couch and just being like, wow, this is reality, like, people dream, right? And it's just like, and then you wake up, it's like, man, that was crazy. I see that in my dream, and then I'm just like, this is fake. And I just like, just snap out of it. And it used to be, my trigger
That's cool.
was, my trigger used to be when I was a smoker was my white Bic lighter. I always carried a white Bic lighter because people have this like superstition that white Bic lighters are bad luck. So I had a white Bic because I don't believe in luck and no one would steal it. And when you're in the military, like pens and lighters just go missing, right? So I would always have it in my right pocket. And like that was my trigger, was to know, was to like snap out of it, was that I would feel in my right pocket, and if I didn't have that Bic, I knew I was dreaming, because I always carried around, military people in our uniforms and stuff, we always carry around our lighters, because if we get little fuzzies and stuff on our cuffs and everything, we burn them off with the lighters. So I'd always have it in my uniform, and then I'd always have it in my civilian clothes because I was a smoker, right? So I'd light up a cigarette when walking around, whatever, or doing whatever, right? So that was my trigger, was to reach in my pocket and realize I don't have my lighter, and then I would snap out of it. And then it just became so common that I was just like, I didn't need that anymore, to realize that this is absolutely a dream. This is not reality, one iota, right? So Jeremy wants me to do a episode on lucid dreaming, and we're definitely gonna have to have you back on, just like so you can share a couple of these experiences and stuff, because it's like, yeah, I mean, at first it's not like I trained how to do it. I just could do it, right? And then it
Yeah.
took me a little bit to realize what was going on and stuff. And then it's like, oh, this is interesting. And then I found out that this is a common, or not super common, but people can do this as well. It's like that one
Yeah.
medical thing that you have where you're just like, there's no way anyone else is dealing with the exact same thing as me. Like my earlobe grew 3 sizes overnight. And then you find out that like 10% of the world has like this earlobe problem, and you're like, oh, thank goodness. I'm not crazy, right? So it's just like
Yeah.
same sort of a thing. I was just like, oh, sweet. I'm not the only one. So I'm not, dealing with mental health issues. Fantastic. But yeah, so very cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, kid? Or child? Sorry.
Just doesn't have quite the same ring to it.
You're right. We're
got a
gonna go back
special
to
ring. Yeah.
we're going back to kid.
I would much rather be kid.
Oh,
I got
child.
nothing.
No?
I got nothing so far.
All right. Well,
Just enjoying the conversation thus far.
so Denver, can you tell us a little bit about any personal experiences with the supernatural you may have had in your life? Have you had anything?
Well, God, I think I shared it with you, like, where I saw that, I'm guessing it was a ghost just freaking walking right out in front of my truck, like at 3:30 in the morning.
You did tell me about
you
that.
remember? Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
And I'm actually like, including that story in a book, but yeah. So, like one thing I remember was, and when was this? This would have been early 2000s, I guess. And I used to work like really weird hours. I worked night shift a lot, and even when I wasn't on night shift, I was always up at 2:30, 3 in the morning, driving into work, commuting long distances, blah blah blah. But you just see some like weird stuff when you when you're out on the road.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And like this one morning, and it's right around 3:30, 3:45, I guess. I'm just driving along, and like this dude and he was like just like he just like materialized like right in front of my truck, and this is like out in the middle of nowhere, like on I mean, it's a main road in Virginia, but there's no like development or anything there. There's
Mhm.
like no houses or anything. And then he just like he kind of like, I remember he like kind of like ducks his, kind of like had his head down like this, and he just like walking diagonally, like across the road. And I'm like, I slam on my brakes, and I don't even know how I didn't hit him, right? And I mean, he's like when I go past him, he's like, just inches like from my truck. And I'm kind of like fishtailing, and in a skid and all that. And like I'm looking through my mirrors, and like he's just gone. I mean, like gone.
Mhm.
And there's like nowhere he could be, nowhere he came from or was going, there's just no way it was anything other than just like, just like an apparition or something. It just was kind of really freaked me out. And I mean, I remember him clear as day. You know, he was probably about 6'1", 6'2", had a mullet, you know, like sandy colored hair. You know, looked like he was like straight out of 1992. You know, he had like a gray pocket T-shirt and like faded blue jeans, and and, and again, I'm dating myself. I'm kind of old. Y'all wouldn't really remember this, but in the 90s, you know, people used to roll their short sleeves up,
Yeah.
kind of like
Yeah.
up to, you know, about the, you know, that's something people did, you know, back in the 90s.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
and and it looked like he had a, you know, a pack of cigarettes in his you know, T-shirt pocket. I mean, I remember him just like just like yesterday, you know. And it was just like a weird, that was like one of like the earliest things I can really remember. I mean, you know, I think I had, you know, some few weird things happen as a kid. I don't really, you know, you never really know if you can like trust those things or not, you know, when you're a
Yeah.
kid. But you know, I mean, like out on the road here, like I think like I feel like the wife and I probably had a sighting of the you know, Flathead Lake monster. But I mean, you know, I mean, I wouldn't like bet my house on it or anything. You know, it's like you know, we saw this multi-hump looking thing out in Flathead Lake when we were there back in 2021, and like all of a sudden it like just kind of like sank down. You know, I mean, it wouldn't like a wake or anything. You know, it just I think it was the I think it was the monster, but I don't know. I
Wow.
mean,
Nice.
you know, maybe I'm just seeing things, but she saw it too, and she don't care about none of this stuff. You know what I mean? It's like I'm the only weirdo that cares about this stuff. She couldn't care less, but because she told me, like, we're driving along, and she's like, "Are you seeing that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but I didn't want to say nothing." You know, so who knows? I mean, maybe it was something, maybe it wasn't. Who knows?
I know how
Whatever.
that feels. Mine's the same way. My wife is just like, I don't care. But she supports
But
me and listens to the show. So
yeah,
thank you,
well,
honey. Love you.
that's you know, that's how my old lady is, and and I guess that's good. If we were both a couple kooks, you know, it wouldn't be good for either one of us, right?
It'd be fun.
Yeah.
So I got
So
this.
go ahead, Devin.
This I was gonna say I got like a weird thing. I think I've talked about this before on the show, but you know, I believe a lot of crazy stuff. Everybody listening knows
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting more into the cryptids just because of you guys, right? I'm starting to believe more of that than I did a year ago. But when it comes to ghosts, I'm still, maybe it's just a mental block for me, but I just have like I don't buy it. And I'm not saying like, you know, your experience for instance isn't true or whatever. I just like, for me personally, the biggest question I have is, why is it always at night? Why don't you ever see a ghost walking around at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in somewhere like a freaking Walmart, right? Where there's like
Well,
plenty of
people
people. And
people do actually, but
do they? I mean, maybe I'm just, you know, I don't dig into the paranormal, so maybe that's why I've never heard of these stories, but it seems to me that it's not something that just happens at Disney on Tuesday.
well, I mean, by and large, you're right, but I think a lot of that where people are looking for stuff at night, I think that's more, and like everybody goes Bigfoot hunting at night, right? Like why? I mean, like you can't freaking see at night,
Right.
and to really see anything, you got to get these flashlights and stuff out that's
These
going to
experts we were talking about
alert
earlier.
anything. Yeah, it's going to alert anything from, you know, hundreds and hundreds of yards away. But I think so I think a lot of that, the night investigations or the nighttime Bigfoot hunts, I think a lot of that's just been popularized by these TV shows, which did it, you know, because of the, you know, the scare factor, right?
Mhm.
It's a little more spooky, but you know, I can tell you that people do have their daytime ghosts, you know, ghost encounters and things. You know, my sister-in-law like had an encounter, like actually, like where a lady walked up to her, like handed her, I don't remember the whole story. I'm you know, because it's been many years since I heard it, but handed her like I want to say like it was like a necklace or like a pendant or something, and she said, I don't remember what she said to her, but it was actually like in a hospital, and then she turned around and the lady just like vanished, and so those things, people do have those encounters in the daytime. So I mean, I'm not saying you're not right to be skeptical of the ghosts or paranormal or what have you. That's cool. There's plenty of holes in it, but people do have daytime experiences.
Fair enough. Yeah, maybe I just haven't seen it because I don't dig into the topic very much.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, there's plenty of holes in ghost stories, so you're not wrong to be skeptical of certain things.
Well, let's be
Speaking-
honest. There's plenty of holes in a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, all these experts.
Not the stuff I bring up, bro. Everything I bring up is 100%.
100% solid. Space is fake for sure. 100%.
Space is fake, dude. Yeah,
It's
man.
like-
Crazy. You're
even
a
like-
Our
nutbag.
world's upside down with dinosaurs. So
Don't
I mean,
start with me on the dinosaurs. We already went over this.
Go ahead, Jake.
Well, I was going to say that all of my experiences with that sort of stuff has been at night, but in very well lit areas. So, like,
Yeah.
not see through apparitions, but like I could see them and then they weren't
Yeah.
there anymore. And that one, and I'm even still in the same boat as Jeff. And I'm like, either it's demonic or it was my mind playing tricks on me. And, I've had some pretty, would be very convincing circumstances, like when I was over at that barracks in Oceana as the BPO doing the midnight to 08 watch, and that one barracks, the 431, used to be like a small hospital wing. Like right when you walked in there, the main lobby definitely looked like the waiting area. It had the rooms in the back for all the files and stuff, and then it was 3 floors, and the 3rd floor was like the psych ward of this building when it was first made. And I had somebody when I was wearing the Old Navy uniform, the Blueberries, I had somebody walk up in dungarees, and I'm looking at my computer. I'm doing something at during this middle of the night watch, and this guy walks up to the desk and looks over at me and gets right in my face in my peripheral, and I look up at him and he's not there, and I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, oh my gosh, right? I could see the blue collared long sleeve shirt and everything. I could see his rank on his shoulder. He just leaned over at me, and then he wasn't there anymore. And then when I was over in Pensacola, there was a little girl that was running around the floor that I was on, and she had like this curly blonde hair and like a nightgown, like a ruffled, shouldered nightgown, and she goes running down the hallway and hangs a left. And so I chase after her because family members and stuff aren't supposed to be up in the barracks, in the bedroom levels of the barracks. They're supposed to be downstairs. And so I go chasing after her, hang a left, and she's not there. So I go down to the desk and I let them know. And I say, hey, there's a little girl that's running around up there. I didn't see any of her parents with her or anything. And they're like, was she wearing like a nightgown, like a white nightgown with like curly blonde hair? And I was like, okay, yeah, you've seen her. And they're like, no, I mean, she's dead. That's a ghost that's been in this barracks for a really long time. And I was like, BS. They're just like, no, people see her all the time. That is absolutely a ghost. And I actually did my own fair share of digging and found whether it was related or not, but a death on Pensacola's base from a really long time ago, with the exact same description for the child that passed away, right? And so all those things, I'm like, if I believed in the paranormal the way people do, saying like ghosts and all that sort of stuff, like that would be hardcore evidence for me, in the same way Jeremy's Bigfoot story was, of being like, ghosts are real. But I'm a Christian and I don't believe in ghosts. I believe that there's only 2 places your soul could go, but I believe in angels and demons. So that's where I'm at with it. And then when it comes to like actual ghosts, it just doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, what possible unfinished business could you have lingering around being like, I never was able to drink that Coke. Got hit by a bus before I was able to drink it. And now I linger around like vending machines. Every time someone gets a Coke, I appear and I hunt them until they finish it, savoring every last drop of that delicious sweet beverage. Like it just like it doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm just like, all right, but
Whispering
that's
in
just
their ear.
yeah, right.
You
Drink the
better
Coke.
enjoy it. It could be your
Enjoy that
last.
Coke. It could be your last drink. You might never be able to finish it. But it's just like, so but yeah, nighttime stories, but very well lit areas. Like, lit up like a hospital room, right? It's just like so it's very interesting. But yeah, I mean, every time I really hear about ghosts and stuff, it's always some like, you know, medieval story or some sort of like, during the colony, during the 1700s, some woman hung herself. It's like, all right, well, where's the hipster that, ran to go pick up a penny in the street and got ran over or something like that. And now he haunts the vape stores, like, like, let's be real, 150,000 people plus die every single day worldwide. That's a heck of a lot of ghosts. We'd be
Yeah.
slamming into them at the beach, just like couldn't even find a place to sit down because you'd be standing in a ghost.
Ooh, sorry.
Well, I mean,
Sorry.
there
know.
still are there still are the more modern stories. A lot of times they don't have the same backstories like those cool medieval and colonial times and
Sure.
stuff like that. But I've heard of this like a guy in a hoodie that haunts a warehouse, but nobody could really figure out like why. I mean, just, you do
Yeah.
hear what I'm getting at. You do hear like modern things, but I mean, his criticism of nighttime and your criticism of the the historic ghost tales. I mean, it's definitely merit to both of those things. But there are some more modern kind of stuff.
I like your explanation of it. Of the ghost hunting shows probably made a lot of stuff popular because they
Yeah.
seem to focus on all of that. Like, oh, this used to be a plantation, and you can hear the the moaning from the basement, and just like,
Yeah, that
Well,
and the
yeah, I mean,
movies. Yeah.
I mean, who wants to go to a subdivision that was built in the 1994 and some 56-year-old guy died of a heart attack? I mean, who cares?
So I actually went to a school that was rumored to be haunted, and everybody in the school we were all under the impression that the school was a former war hospital for World War II. I actually did a little bit of a dive into the history of this school. It was built in 1911, but never once was it a war hospital. So
Nice.
the whole room, it was literally just a rumor of it being haunted, and that's what that reminded me of. There was the whole school. Everybody thought teachers had stories about, oh, it was a 3-story school, so they're like, oh, the library is on the very top floor, and we were trying to do midterm tests, and all of a sudden it sounded like there was a stampede of elephants going on in the library, but there wasn't a soul up there, and oh, the school's haunted.
How would they know? They were doing a test.
Nothing ever happened. Like, I'm not saying the land itself wasn't haunted. I don't know the history of the land, but it's always so funny listening to these stories that everyone's like, oh, this happened, and nothing ever happened. So it's just like you're all just creating things in your
that's
head.
fun,
like,
right?
Yeah.
You're over there
But
ruining
at
the
the
fun.
same time, it's like, where's the validity in anything, right?
I got a question for you, Denver. Do you ever come down to Florida in your travels?
Oh yeah, I just I spent the winter in Florida. I just left in April, and I'm up here in the Northeast where it's freaking cold right now. Unfortunately,
You're one of those, Denver. Okay, one of the snowbirds come down here during the winter.
well,
and
you
clog
you
the
got to be
toilet.
if you live in an RV, you don't want to be where it gets too cold because
I
these
get
things
it.
aren't insulated all that well.
I get it. I lived in an RV for over a year, but the reason I ask if you come down to Florida, you ever go to Casadega?
Casadega. No, I have not been there.
It's the most haunted town, I guess, or city. It's the most haunted town in Florida. Apparently, it was this whole town that was built on top of like old Indian burial grounds and all these things, and it's like the psychic medium capital of the world.
Where is it? Like, where is it at? Like geographically,
It is east of Orlando. It's probably like
okay.
right in between Orlando and one of the beaches, Daytona, somewhere. It's off to
Okay.
the east of Orlando.
Okay, I got. Yeah, see, I that's one of the parts of Florida that I didn't actually get up to because we were actually going to go up that way, but we got kind of stuck in Central Florida for longer
Right
than
on. Well,
we
listen, next
intended.
year when it's cold and you come down here to cause more traffic for me, just hit me up, man. We'll go to Casadega and check it out.
Yeah, man. But I mean, there's a lot of cool places in Florida,
Oh
though.
yeah.
I spent a lot of time, did a bunch of little outings in in the green swamp in that area there, and you know, spent a lot of time actually in there, and I thought I might have saw something, but kind of like my my lake monster thing. I don't know. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't.
There's
I
a
don't
lot of
know.
big gators that look like monsters, and there's also a lot of swamp gas going on around here.
Yeah.
Swamp gas.
Swamp gas. All right. Next question, Denver. You ready?
Yeah. Go.
What's your favorite place you've been to investigate?
Okay. So, um, my favorite place that I've been to, and we're just talking like just like in investigating type stuff. So there's I don't know if y'all are familiar with this, but are you familiar in Utah? There's this petroglyph. It looks like a long necked dinosaur. Any of y'all familiar with that?
I
Yeah.
am familiar of it because of you.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's my answer, but I don't know if anybody listening really knows about it, but so I just give a quick breakdown here. So anyway, in Utah at the Natural Bridges National Monument, and it's like
Mhm.
that monument is like not really near anything. It's like an hour away from like the nearest little bitty town. It's just like in the middle of southern Utah. But anyway, they got all these like all these arches. They call them bridges, but they're like these massive arches. And at the base of one of those bridges called Kachina Bridge, I mean, it's just covered with petroglyphs, and petroglyphs is like one of my favorite things to look into. I just can't get enough of them. I love them, no matter where I'm at. I try to see them. But anyway, it's called Kachina Bridge because it's got some of these weird looking. They just call them Kachina figures, but you don't really know what they are or what they represent. I mean, some people think they look extraterrestrial or this or that or ghosts or whatever. But anyway, at the base, like right near one of those Kachina looking figures, there's this petroglyph, and ain't anybody can say anything they want. I've read scientific papers on it. I do not give a crap. Ain't nobody ever going to tell me it's not a long necked dinosaur, you know, carved into that wall. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care. That's what it is. And I like in the early days of the internet, back in the late '90s is like where I first became aware of it. Because yeah, I've always been into all this weird stuff. And so like ever since then, I just like, oh man, I want to see this. I want to see this. So, like when we got out to Utah, this one place we were staying in Monument Valley, I realized, we're about an hour and a half from there. And so I drove all the way up there to see it. And, it's a pretty rigorous hike down and back to it. I hiked down there, and I spent 2 hours looking for it. I could not find it. And so I left, went home, tried to figure out exactly where it was again. Went back the next day. The next day, I found it. Long story short, but I'm telling you, it looks exactly like a long necked dinosaur. And there's another figure like near it that kind of looks like a dinosaur, and then off away from it, there's two others that may or may not look like dinosaurs, depending on how bad you want to believe it. But anyway, because I had wanted to see that for so long, and because it's like such a bizarre thing, right? That I mean, if there's a long necked dinosaur carved in Utah, I mean that kind of turns what we know about things on its head. So that was my absolute favorite thing that I've seen so far.
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet story if you ask me.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I'm sure you've already done all the research on it.
Oh
so,
yeah, look,
yeah.
I've read a scientific paper telling me how it's a mud stain and blah blah blah. No, it's a freaking long necked dinosaur. You can burn me at the stake, and I'm still gonna scream that that's a long necked dinosaur. I don't care. I'm that dug in and invested.
What if
I
you
mean,
thought that it was a long necked dinosaur because you're programmed to think that that's what a long necked dinosaur looks like?
Well, and
Just made a smirk.
may, maybe, but then whatever it is, it's not something that should have been walking around in Utah 1,000 years ago.
yeah.
Okay,
So I did
period.
a whole episode on the show about dinosaurs being a hoax.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of biased to this particular thing, but it does. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it does look like a long necked dinosaur.
Well,
But
and you have other and that's not the only petroglyph in the Southwest that depicts what I think looks like a dinosaur. I saw another one that's not popular or known, but to me it looked like it near Kanab, Utah. Um, I obviously, like I said, it's not popular. I've got pictures of it. I could share with anybody that wants to see it. But there and like I said, there's a couple others on Kachina Bridge that some people think depict a dinosaur, and and then you've got you've got like in South America, people that claim to see dinosaurs today, even in the Amazon. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I just I think it's a dinosaur.
it
Whatever.
is interesting. It is interesting. It's something I'm gonna definitely do a little bit of a deep dive into because it is, again, doing the whole dinosaur hoax presentation and personally not believing that dinosaurs ever existed. Like when I see stuff like this, or like the eggs that somebody brought up to us on that show, it makes me want to look into it more because I am willing to change my mind on things that I
Yeah.
say.
Well, I mean,
You know,
dinosaurs never existing. That's a pretty cool take. I mean, I like
should check
that.
that episode out, Denver. It's a good episode, bud.
He did do a good episode on it, but we should cover Makele and Membe. That's supposed to
Yeah.
be a sauropod.
Yeah, and you have a lot of the same kind of reports. If you read Exploration Fawcett, Journey to the Lost City of Z by posthumously published Percy Fawcett's work, like in the early 1900s. He talked about folks that had spotted diplodocus like creatures, and gave descriptions like footprints and things that people had seen. And there's tons of anecdotal stories of Amerindians in South America, instances of their canoes being flipped over by these long neck
Now, I won't
creatures.
say I do or do not, but I think it's a possibility that Makele and Membe is a diplo.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, it like like in those deep reaches of the Congo and, and in South America, man, I mean, like literally anything could be hiding in there. That's what I think.
There's so much, and it's not just dinosaurs, but other prehistoric megafauna. I know Jeff loves that term. You have ground sloths in certain parts of South America. Then you have a creature that is, well, it's called the beaver eater from
Whoa, this is a
Canada and
family show, bud.
northern
Hey now.
North America.
Hey
That's
now.
also supposed to be a giant megatherium type ground sloth. So there's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's people that still claim that there's woolly mammoth and other type of
Yeah, in
woolly,
Siberia.
well, not just that, but also in the very northern parts of Canada. I wish we had our Canadian here. She messaged me and let me know that her computer froze up, so she'll get back with us soon. But she'd be able to tell me what part of Canada I'm thinking of, because I can't think of it.
Well, I mean, those woolly mammoth stories. I mean, even 400 years ago. I mean, they were rumored to be living out west, and a lot of your Native American tribes, have those tales. Just read what is it? Red Earth, White Lies by Vine Deloria Jr. It's from a Native perspective on how he kind of debates what we call scientific fact, from the traditions of various Native tribes and things. And those mammoth stories, it would certainly seem that they didn't die out 10,000 years ago. They at least lived to, a few hundred years ago. And who knows? They're like you're saying, there might still be a handful of them today.
Mm-hmm.
No, for sure. Yeah. No, I mean, I always thought that the woolly mammoths died out so long ago, and then I probably last year saw some article online. They were talking about the die off period of the woolly mammoth, and said, people seem to think that it's like dinosaurs, like way back then, right? But it was literally like the time of the pyramids being built. And I was just like, oh, that's pretty close. That's nowhere near what I was thinking, or what I was thinking, science had projected as far as that sort of stuff goes. I'm not a old Earth believer myself, but just like, so I think that everything died off, but much closer than they're given a time frame for.
And I mean, like, do you really know when the last of something dies? I mean, they don't like check in with anybody,
right? All right, guys, we're signing out.
Yeah, and that's why like a lot of species supposed to be extinct. I kind of question that, and kind of like I was talking about earlier, like about cougars in Virginia. They like to say that the last one was killed in Virginia in it's like either 1882, 1885, something like that, down in Washington County. But it's like, how do you really know that? Because like in the late 1800s, and nobody was tagging these things. And how do we know that a little pocket didn't survive in some of these more remote, remote areas that are now protected as national forest or national park, like Shenandoah National Park? So I'm just not a big believer when about everything being extinct, like on the time frames that they tell us.
Clearly, it's because we've combed every square inch of the surface of this planet, so
sure.
that's how we know.
Of course.
Jeff's going to come back to us about this long-necked dinosaur and be like, I figured it out. It's not a long-necked dinosaur. It's a huge, massive snake with legs.
Hey, that's cool, too. I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely okay with that.
I got no problem believing in giant creatures, right? Like megafauna,
Mhm.
right? Or some other things. I mean, I believe in dragons that they existed at one point. So, for me, it's just the definition of terms thing. That's where I'm kind of like thrown for a loop. So you call it a dinosaur, I might call it a dragon or a giant crocodile. I don't know, but that's just
Hmm.
where I'm at. But I'm sure that we've got stuff out there that has never been discovered, or at least uh what's the word I'm looking for? Like, jotted down, like this has been discovered, maybe some
Documented,
tribes
yeah.
documented. Thank you. That's the word. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, everybody. Bear with us while we take this quick break.
Kenzo,
So-
where are those mammoths at?
Yeah,
Mammoth.
Kenzar.
I thought it was whales.
Well, whales too, but not the woolly whales, the woolly mammoths. Where are they at in Canada? We're in northern Canada.
Is it the Yukon? Is that what northern Canada?
Yeah. The territories, yeah.
The territories. Yeah.
Yukon, Northwest Territory, and Nunavut. Or
Yeah.
Nunavut. I don't know how they say it. Every time I say it, I get told I say it wrong.
Say it again.
None of it.
Nunavut. Nunavut.
Come on, you're Canadian. You should know
is
this.
I think, the capital city of the province. I'm
Yeah.
probably very wrong about that.
Your own area,
Yeah,
and you have no idea
the
how to
territories.
pronounce it?
I bet she didn't even know Finland was above Minnesota.
Yeah, it says right here.
I thought it was Manitoba, but you guys proved me wrong. So
I'm actually looking at this picture right now. Don't ask me why I found this on the internet right now, but I'm looking at the largest crocodile ever measured. It's long, 20 feet 3 inches. It's the longest crocodile ever measured from snout to tail.
What about
Which
that one of
tells
that
me
picture we saw in the group
No,
chat
that
the
was
other
fake.
day?
That was
fake.
fake.
But this 20-foot 3-inch long crocodile is the biggest one they've ever measured, which means there's probably one that's like 10 feet bigger than this swimming
Yeah.
around somewhere.
Like the Lake
And-
Placid crocodile?
That's a big crocodile.
Yeah.
Dude, 20 feet is big, man. That's like half the
Well-
size of a city bus.
Well, I mean, you think about fish, right? Somebody catches a record fish and, 10, 20 years. I mean, somebody breaks and not only breaks it, but shatters it. I was looking at
Yep.
a couple of catfish records recently. Like one was like 110 pounds and the previous record was 90. I mean, that's a huge percentage, right? So, I mean, and
here in
who says something's not bigger than that guy that's the record? I mean, we just don't know what's in the water and what's in the woods.
it's like the sturgeon kind of like the sturgeon that was found in my area here in the Fraser River. 10-foot sturgeon
Yeah.
was found not too long ago, and I looked into it. The longest recorded ever sturgeon was close to 24 feet, just under 24 feet.
That's a massive
Huge
fish.
fish. They
Dang
don't
big
stop
fish.
growing. They don't stop
Jeez.
growing. It's a massive fish, right? So,
That's a big
Yeah.
hell no.
right?
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Well, all right. All right, let's I gotta bring up something that I didn't have written down. If you're in the Infinite Rabbit Hole group on Facebook, not the page. So if you go to Facebook, look for Infinite Rabbit Hole, click on the one with the black logo, not the one with the white logo. The white logo is the page where we update you on news and new episodes and stuff. But if you want to actually get into the conversation, look for the one with the black logo. And in there, we talk often, and also on the show, we also talk often about where we have gotten this crazy idea that dogmen could be kangaroo.
No, we're not. We're not doing that, are we?
Oh,
Come
yes.
on.
Come on, Denver. We have to.
I'm on your side, Denver. I'm with you.
Kenzar is
It's the kangaroos.
100% with you. So Denver, my friend,
Oh, no.
is the one who birthed this idea. And I'm not
Send
going to
your
lie.
hate mail to him.
When he first said it,
Oh,
it
God.
it took a minute to click. But you read books like what's that book from Laura Coleman, The Mysterious America, right? Is that what it is? Yeah,
I think it's
Mysterious America,
Mysterious America, I think.
where he talks about in the Midwest there was this boom of kangaroos just everywhere. They were showing up even in the Appalachian Mountains and as far west as the Rockies. And between them and another well-known cryptid, the devil monkey, which a lot of people think that the two got kind of intertwined, and there was mistaken identity between the two of them too. So someone would report seeing a devil monkey, but really saw a kangaroo. And then Denver kind of turned me on to the idea of really taking a look at this kangaroo idea for some of these dogmen. I'm not 100% saying that every single dogman sighting ever was a kangaroo, but if
Yeah,
you look at the silhouette of a kangaroo, right? These things have hands
Claws.
with long claws, and they're bulky, big. They look like they could beat the shit out of you. And
They
Because they
got the
can.
long snout.
if you've ever seen one attack a screen door,
Yeah.
you
Well,
would shit
that's-
yourself.
Well, I think that's where I turned you on to it. I said, go on YouTube and write in the little search bar, put kangaroos are scary. Dude, I mean, like, it's just like, now, and so, like somebody in Australia might not really think much of
Just
that,
doing it.
but somebody in West Virginia
Yeah.
or, somebody in Oklahoma. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
because, and I don't care what any, I'm going to piss off some dogmen enthusiasts out there, but I just don't believe that upright canines can exist in nature, right? I mean, I believe Bigfoot can, but an upright canine, I just don't think can exist in nature. So it's one of two things. It's mistaken identity, or we're talking something, and I'm going to say something more metaphysical, possibly even demonic, right? Because of their, the red eyes, the sense of evil that people always get. So, so I'm not saying that every dog man is that, but I'm saying I think a lot of these dogman sightings are kangaroos, and because I mean, on the in the Infinite Rabbit Hole group, like once a week I post something about somebody's damn kangaroo got loose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's true.
I mean, it's common. It's common. I didn't really used to pay that much attention to it, but now I'm like trying to document every time that I see this. And yeah, like once a week, somebody's kangaroo is getting loose in the U.S. or or in Europe too, and of course they have dogman sightings over there. And I mean, to me, the long snout, the claws, and if you just watch that video of that kangaroo banging on the storm door, yeah, that's I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, imagine it being dark out, right? And
Yeah.
it's dark in the house, and you're sleeping, and you get you get like just the silhouette of a kangaroo outside your window, and it's
And you
beating the
live
shit
in
out of
Ohio.
you. You're like, that's a dog man.
I'm going to back
Yeah.
this theory up right here. You ready for this? The
Yes.
Wyoming Wild Game Department, partnering with the Wyoming Migration Initiative, have released the first of 5 planned batches of 90 antilopine kangaroos into the Wyoming outdoors.
Okay, that's fun. Yeah.
We're about to get a boom of dogman sightings out of
I
Wyoming.
don't think we need kangaroos.
We don't. We don't
So
need
they
kangaroos.
Wild kangaroo.
Is it because they
Just
released the gray wolves, so now they have to release the kangaroos to
It
fight
says
back
that
the wolves?
They're
But-
they're evaluating the viability of Wyoming's habitat for Australian marsupials. So this is just one example. Never mind the fact that we know that other animals get brought here,
Yeah.
as exotic pets, and they get out and so on and so forth. So are there kangaroos in the wild in the United States? Yes.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize, you think of kangaroos, you're thinking Australia, where it's warm and stuff. But kangaroos, as long as they don't have like really, really deep snow, I mean, they can survive, winters, most anywhere in the U.S. I mean, you can find on YouTube and just Google Kangaroo, Oklahoma, and you'll see like some dudes out bow hunting in a field, and it's covered with snow, and this freaking kangaroo just comes bouncing down the field. It's stupid. I watched a video where a kangaroo was bouncing around in Staten Island. I got like a whole thing of reports from like where all these kangaroos in New Jersey. I mean, it's stupid how many kangaroos are out there, and like I know for a fact in Hawaii, some got loose from a circus, like in Oahu, and they actually established their own breeding population. So you've got the breeding population of wild kangaroos in Oahu. And I kind of wonder if maybe there might be little pockets in the U.S., because I've collected a lot of those, newspaper reports where some of them had got loose, and, there's no follow up where they were ever recovered and that sort of thing. So I don't know. I mean, it makes as much sense as a 7-foot dog that can walk upright.
I fucked up.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I fucked up.
Uh-oh.
It was an April Fool's joke posted on April 1st of 2017.
Scumbag.
What an asshole.
I didn't know until I got to the end of the article. But
This is why I check dates before I post or look too far into anything.
That's
Hashtag
messed
fake
up,
news,
dude.
Jeff.
I corrected it, but there's still got to be some wild ones running around. Okay.
If you vote for me for president, I'm going to abolish April Fool's Day. I swear to God.
But
Have you
even,
guys? Oh, go ahead, man.
yeah, let me go first.
Yeah, you go first.
Yeah, I'll go first. So even with that whole April Fool's thing aside, there is plenty documentation of a rather large population of kangaroos back in the day, 70s and before, 80s, 90s. And there was a large breeding population here in the U.S., mostly in the Midwest. But I mean, think of all the cryptids that are out there, right? Let's just take one, for example, because I'm not going to sit here all day. Let's talk about the Jersey Devil, right? So the Jersey Devil, look at the general description of the Jersey Devil, right? Other than the ability for it to fly and its hooved feet and bat wings, what does it have? It has something that looks like a horse's head, right? There's plenty, and I mean plenty.
Kangaroo feet kind of look like hoof prints.
No, they're long, dude. They're long and thin.
Yeah, but just the tips of them, they kind of have that kind of hoofy with the nail
tip.
and stuff.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm not looking at kangaroo feet right now.
Oh no, wait, no, they have the forked feet, don't they?
I have
long
no idea.
Forked feet. I don't know nothing.
But
don't listen to me.
But there are a lot of reports from back in the day of the Jersey Devil hopping around and being able to jump extremely large distances and whatnot, right? And some people said that it jumped so far it seemed like it was flying. And there are reports of the Jersey Devil without wings, and with a lot of reports claiming that it had a tail. A lot of them being a whip-like tail, but a tail nonetheless. So there's a lot of things that could be kangaroos. Dogman, Jersey Devil are just a few to name a few, but there are a lot. And to think that the entire population is gone is probably crazy, because as Denver was saying, we're getting reports, news articles all the time of kangaroos being found here in the United States, and not just the ones that are being lost from personal collections that are tagged, or are microchipped. These ones are as wild gets, and they're surviving.
Yeah, and back in the day too, like up until probably like the 70s, and especially like in the early 1900s, mid 1900s, there used to be all these traveling circuses that had all these exotic animals and stuff. And, things weren't regulated back then like they are today. And hell, I mean, there's tons of states that it's perfectly legal to own a kangaroo. You wouldn't think that. But yeah, like there's plenty of states that have no problem with you having a kangaroo, so you just wonder, like, from those old traveling circuses, things that might have got loose, and things like that are kind of behind a lot of the strange sightings we have.
Right.
So I added a picture into our group chat, Denver, that has a couple different types of kangaroo footprints. And if I didn't know what a kangaroo footprint looked like, and I only knew hooves and then other types of animals and stuff, I would look at those two lines and be like, "That's a weird looking hoof." So
Oh,
we'll have
cool.
to add a picture in there so that our viewers on YouTube can see this. I was
Yeah, I
going to
just
ask,
wrote it down.
have you guys ever had kangaroo meat? Because I have.
I was just gonna say that the butcher around the corner sells kangaroo.
Dude, you first of all, you need to do it, and then because
Okay.
it soaks in a
Sold.
marinade like no one's business. It's like super lean, but it takes a marinade. But yeah, I say
Sold.
bring them all over. Like if they want to actually start a breeding population here,
Jake.
like in Wyoming, oh man, bring them.
Jake's
Those
loading
things
up
are
a hunting
great.
rifle right now. He's like,
Bring them on over, boys.
Bring them on over.
So Denver, I took a screenshot of what Jake was talking about and sent it to you, so you can share in the fun too.
Okay.
But let's move on.
Yeah.
Next topic.
Kangaroo.
That was one that I did not, that was not
Oh,
on the
yeah.
billet for the day.
That is that's a pretty crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
I could
that's
see
nuts,
that.
isn't it?
Yeah, I could see
That's
that.
probably my favorite theory I've ever heard.
Kangaroos.
It's definitely the kangaroos.
See, Kit hasn't even been part of the crew for so long, and she's already got a T-shirt. It's the kangaroo. All right, so
would
I'm going
be-
to skip a couple here, Denver, and we're going to move into the meat of the show. So, so we are currently in the middle of a huge Phantom Black Dog series, right? We've been doing a ton of episodes on black dogs all around the world. One of, I believe it was in your Strange Tales from Virginia's Mountains, right? Is that where you
Yeah.
talked about the
Yes.
Black Dog of Blue Ridge? Here's
Yeah,
the
that
book,
would have been that
everybody.
one. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Well, so basically, I want to say like in the late 1600s, a man came over from England into Botetourt County, Virginia, which back then would have been just over in the Blue Ridge, just a really rugged frontier back in those days, and he was supposed to send for his wife, and she just never got word. But the story was that there was this dog, like a really big black dog, like up along a mountain pass, like a gap in the mountains, that every night around sunset would just kind of like pace back and forth and pace back and forth, and it was, people had tried to run it off or even shoot it with bullets, and it was, like the bullets just went right through it. It would just, like keep marching back and forth, basically. And long story short, I want to say, like, after maybe like around 7 years thereabouts, the lady from England comes over, trying to find her husband, figure out whatever became of him. And she tracked him down, like I said, to Botetourt County, and she heard the tales of this dog at this tavern that they said kept a nightly vigil, pacing back and forth, and it sounded like her husband's dog. And so she insisted that the people take her to the dog. And long story short, she sees the dog. The dog like kind of jumps in her lap, and then goes and like paws over by a stone, and they dig up, they find a skeleton with a ring that was her husband's signet ring, and beside it was the remains of the dog. The dog disappeared. It's kind of like one of those tearjerker stories, if you're a big dog lover. And I just had to put my dog down about a week and a half ago, so It's like,
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it sucks.
I'm like about to start
Goodness.
crying talking about this, but basically it's one of
Oh.
those. It's like one of those cool, cool stories where the it's kind of one of your Phantom Black Dog stories in a way, but in the other way, it's this is kind of veers from that because it's kind of got that warm
Yeah.
that warm and fuzzy
That
deal
feel good. Yeah.
at the end. It's like a loyal companion that that hung around till his till his dad's wife could find their bodies and give them a proper burial.
So for anybody who wants a deeper dive into that story, you can check out Denver Michaels' website where he posts his blog. Denver, is it just denvermichaels.com?
It's actually denvermichaels.net. Some jackass
.net, okay.
had .com, and I would have had to pay a bunch of money for it, so I just went with .net.
The other Denver Michaels.
Yeah, whoever the hell that is, I don't know.
He has pictures of his rocks and all of his rock collections and fossils and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, no, my website's way too important.
Okay. So definitely check out denvermichaels.net. He does do a blog on the Black Dog of the Blue Ridge. Also, you can find the story in his book, Strange Tales of Virginia's Mountains, which this is the one that's getting the sequel, right?
Yeah, that one is going to have I've actually finished the book and I'm turning it in pretty soon, so I'm hoping it'll be out by the end of the year, but it might actually be in the springtime. Just kind of depends
cool.
on the publishers, their schedule.
Awesome. I'm very excited about it. I've got my book wish list on Amazon is embarrassing. I have a lot, and every once in a while, when I'm not buying a book for research, I buy a Denver Michaels book because you get stories such as that, the Black Dog of the Blue Ridge. There's a lot of really really cool stories that Denver ties these unexplainable events into history, and so we're gonna step out of that for a little bit, Denver, and we're gonna head into the last section of the show. And this is probably where we're gonna probably have the most fun. So we have to ask the question that everyone loves to hear about. What is your full opinion on Bigfoot? What is it? And do you think we'll ever get proof in our lifetime?
What is it? Well, okay, so what is it? I really oscillate back and forth. And anybody that's, spent much time reading any of my books, you'll know that I say that I don't know a lot. I don't take real strong stances on these kind of things. There was a time in my life when I believed 100%, without a doubt, it's a flesh and blood. It's it's an undiscovered species of great ape in North America. That's, you couldn't have told me any different. But more and more, I've kind of come along to it. I believe it's something. So I don't believe like, no, there's nothing to, not at all. But I've kind of come around a little bit on the woo side, I guess, that it might be something more metaphysical. Well, I mean, because let's face it, let's look at all the people. I mean, it's kind of like what I was talking about earlier, right? For all the Bigfoot experts out there, you got a bunch of inconclusive tracks. You got some inconclusive hairs. You got a lot of pictures on Facebook of these stick structures or these blobs on the ground with a tape measure beside it that are supposed to be a track. But
I was going to say, Denver, you can't forget about the red circles.
Well, the red circles are awesome, where the Bigfoot's like hiding in the trees. And, you got a lot of people that are researching a family of Bigfoot in my research location. You got a lot of that, but really nobody has anything. And it's just true. Nobody's got anything conclusive. I mean, you just really don't. And I'm not saying it's not a worthwhile pursuit. I'm not saying it at all. I mean, I spend lots and lots of time in the woods, looking at these same, pinned down arches and, little teepees and depressions in the ground, like wondering, is that something? Is that something? I mean, yeah. But no, nobody has anything, like after all this time. And that's what leads me to think that we might be talking something that, you're not going to figure out the answer because it's it's a ghost or it's interdimensional or this or that. That's so I'm kind of like, what I want to say, 65% there, but I still leave plenty of room that it is something physical that we just ain't been able to find.
Yeah. Hey Jeff, what do you think? Oh, okay. All right. Good job. Good talk, Jeff. He just up and left.
Oh boy.
I can't wait till he has to go to edit that. It's gonna be great. Anyways. All right, Denver. So the next tier of the question is, do you think that the government could be hiding the existence of Bigfoot?
So the short answer, no. But I need to preface that by saying I am a connoisseur of conspiracy theories. I am a avowed, devoted conspiracy theorist. So I believe in conspiracies. I believe the government is hiding tons of stuff, but Bigfoot ain't it, and here's why, right? I just don't think that, number one, I don't think that they know, but number two, I mean, I don't think they care. Think of our powerful legislators and Congress people, like they're evil and self-serving and all that.
Oh, yeah.
But besides that, they're just like everybody else. And people in the Bigfoot community, they tend to forget that, like, we're not like as important as we think we are. Like, most people don't give a shit about Bigfoot one way or the other, right? So why is
who doesn't care about Bigfoot, Denver?
like most people, like almost everybody, like just go out and like sample a random 100 people, right? Even if they believe in it, they really don't care all that much. And so why would we think that our Congress people are any different? So that's another reason I don't believe it. And another thing, I mean, like, what would the government gain by hiding Bigfoot? Like for instance, if they just said, yeah, Bigfoot exists, we know it's here, they could do a massive land grab, right, where these things are. They could take the federal government already owns 28% of the land in the United States. Well, guess what? I mean, if Bigfoot is lurking in the suburbs of Connecticut, like some people are saying, they could take up that land too. They could all of a sudden own like the rest of the land in the US. I mean, they could do a massive land grab. So, they could do that. There's just, I just don't, to me, like, the government's hiding Bigfoot from us it's really just a cop out that the Bigfoot community uses because they've just not been able to prove anything. I mean, that's sort of my take. And I believe in conspiracies. Do not get me wrong. I mean, I can talk off record all day long about some stuff that I wouldn't say publicly.
Well, Jake has something to say.
And I raised my hand. I think that the Forestry Service is covering up for Bigfoot because of
Why?
I think that I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I have to think it's in the tons, right? How much trash is pulled out of trash, like litter and crap that's pulled out of national parks every single year? It's got to be in the tons or thousands of tons of people just littering, messing with stuff, destroying like the foliage and the trees and all that stuff. They're like, oh, finish my water bottle and throw it amongst these rocks and stuff. I think that I think the National Park Service, if anyone knows that this thing exists, it's them, and they're not saying anything because they don't want the attention. They don't
Nope.
want they don't want hundreds of millions of people flooding into one state so they
You,
could just completely wreck it and turn it into
you,
nothing
you're wrong.
and eat
You're
them.
wrong.
And they're gonna
You're
hunt the
wrong.
Bigfoot and eat them.
No, no, no.
This is exactly what it's meant to do, Denver. Get mad. Tell them.
Yeah, tell me.
Well, I
Tell me,
mean,
Denver.
it's just like, and where you're wrong here, there's a couple reasons you're wrong. They're pulling out all this trash and everything because it's increased because after the COVID lockdowns, everybody figured, oh, I can just go to all the national parks and and be safe, and so you just had a flood of people into all the national parks. I've seen this with RVing. They've started they're starting to shut down, and you have to like make reservations now. Like like when we went to Glacier, they had to they had started on a reservation system. So I mean, this is going on anyway, and like where you're wrong about this, like nobody's gonna. Again, people in the Bigfoot community think, oh, if they admit that Bigfoot's here, like everybody that cares about Bigfoot is already out there looking for him anyway. Like somebody that don't care one way or the other isn't going to go, and people that would be like, oh, the Park Service admitted there's Bigfoot, they're not going to go because they're going to be scared. So I mean, I think that that's all a wash, that you're going to have all these people. But if they did acknowledge that there was Bigfoot, right, it's an endangered species now. So they can just shut off access to all that land. And like I travel like all the time to all this federal land, and there's a lot of it where you just can't even access it anyway. They block the gates. They can shut off any portion of land anytime they want. You go to any national park, like you're not allowed to step off of certain trails because you'll damage the soil or just something. So you're not even allowed to really do that much in national parks anyway, except for stay on the trails. Now national forest, BLM land, you got a lot more freedom, but and again, like and here's another reason I don't believe in it. Like I was a contractor, for one of our 3-letter agencies for like 10 years. And
so you're part of the problem.
Yeah, I'm part of the problem. but so like, do you know how hard it is for the government to find just a qualified electrician or machinist that can do a job and pass and pass the the background checks and all that? So where are they finding these guys that can find Bigfoot right when nobody else can?
Oh, no, I don't mean like it's a specialist. I'm just saying it's the people that take care of like the forestry and stuff like that.
But like the people that take care of forestry knows that Bigfoot exists, but nobody else has been able to conclusively figure that out. That's all I'm saying. I just don't think the government knows anything.
I'm going to step in here and I'm going to play some hypothetical devil's advocate here, Denver, because I heard a wild theory a while back, and I just want to throw it out there. So let's say that the existence of Bigfoot is proven. Okay, hypothetically.
Okay.
Now, people, right? We got every flavor of person, every belief system that you could possibly think of. And you get some people, hit my mic, sorry about that, who think that Bigfoot, because of how closely it looks and reminds them of a human being, deserve rights, right? And some Bigfoot researchers do believe that, right? I believe that they need to be found because they need protection, right? If their numbers are as low as I fear, I believe that they need some protection. But there are some people who believe that they are just as smart as human beings, and they're super sentient. They're able to learn. They're able to use tools. They're they're humans but bigger, hairier, and they don't want to be around others, right? They're hermits. So what if we found Bigfoot and now you get crowds and crowds of people that come out of the woodwork that are jumping onto the next big thing, and that is Bigfoot, and how that Bigfoot or those tribes of Bigfoot deserve land just like the Native Americans do. Right? So
Yeah.
now all those massive amounts, percentage wise, of all these national parks that we are not allowed to go to, because what you said is true. There
Yeah.
are massive chunks, and I'm not just talking about, look at a map. I'm talking about stand on top of a mountain of a national park or a hill and look out. All of that you see, you can't go to. You have to stay on the path. Okay? And that's all you can do. Stay on the road, stay on the path, camp where we tell you to camp, and leave. That's it. There's massive amounts of land out there that we do not have access to, that is supposedly national park land. One, what are they doing out there? Why is it off limits? Why is there so much land that doesn't even have fire towers? So for anybody who doesn't know, there's fire towers out in the middle of national parks and other big chunks of forest where somebody lives up in these towers, and their job is to spot fires.
Yeah.
Right? And they call in forest fires. There is massive amount of land in national parks that are not covered by one of these fire towers. If you don't believe me, talk to a hotshot. Talk to one of these fire spotters. They've come out and said that there's a lot of land out there that the government does not let you on. So hypothetically, let's say that they already have this land put aside for Bigfoot. Okay. Now we're going to go deeper down the rabbit hole because that's what we do, right? Now let's say that they have some sort of agenda that they're pushing. Now let's get Jeff involved, right? So let's say that they're pushing that we are super old, hundreds of thousands of years old, whatever, and we are unique, we are special. And all of a sudden, now there's another race of this humanoid creature, big, hairy, walks through the woods and has small tribes, and they're endangered. Are we special anymore? Can they still hold the pressure over us? Do they have that grasp on us anymore? Are we special? Jeff, jump in. I know you're thinking
This is an interesting idea, but I don't think that that's at all why they have these giant swaths of land that
It's because
we
the
don't go
lizard
to.
people.
I was
Crab
gonna
people.
say probably just because they have secret deep underground military bases in a lot of those areas, and that's probably where they allow their high-tech TR-3Bs and other technology to fly in and out, and they don't want anybody to see that. So that's my opinion on that. But your idea is, I mean,
well, no, it's not my idea. I'm not going to take credit for this, but this is something that got my mind jogging a little bit. Maybe I went a little bit too far with the whole "are we special" thing, but the reality of it is that there would be people that are protesting that these animals or these creatures, these big feet, these Bigfoot, Sasquatches, these hairy humans, humanoids, whatever you want to call them, whatever camp you're going to put them into, deserve a chunk of the United States property.
Well, I mean, since when does the government care about people protesting, right? And
yeah,
and
they
in
want it.
in today's climate, it would just become a fake left or right issue,
That's true, and that's exactly what I'm saying.
But I mean, you're on to something about the land. I just I don't know, man. It's I've always thought that the government has all this all this land because because of the the minerals and the oil and gas and all of that. And I've always thought that that's what they use as collateral for their debts with the central bankers. I mean, with why do they keep printing money and printing money and printing money and printing money? Because I mean, we've got some collateral there with all that land and what's underneath it. So, what I've always believed.
Yeah, that's actually a fact, Denver. And I don't want to get into a whole bunch of politics and stuff, but that is a fact because they're actually giving a lot of that land to places like the PRC, right?
You're
The
right.
People's
Right.
Republic of China. So, I mean, that's definitely a thing. But yeah, I think they close off big swaths of land. Personally, I just think it's because they're hiding other things, right? They got technologies and bases that you can't go. They can't even risk you seeing it. So they got 5,000 square miles blocked off with no fire towers, so nobody can see the technology coming in and out. That's kind of what I think about it. But I just want to propose the one quick idea that maybe, just maybe, and this is woo, but maybe the government does know about Bigfoot, but maybe they know that they're inner earth beings. So they cannot tell us because these beings aren't necessarily surface dwellers. They come up, but maybe they're not from up. Maybe they're from down within. And they got to keep that hush hush.
That's another big theory about that, the vastness of space that's out there in these national parks, is that there could be portals, whether it be to different dimensions or pathways to inner Earth. I mean, that's a whole nother episode that we can get into, and I'd love to do it. But just to kind of give you a little bit of background behind this question there, Denver. So since starting this podcast, I've noticed a few things, especially when it comes to Bigfoot in pictures, right? So one is that every 3 to 9 months, it's like clockwork, right? You can expect one of 4 sets of pictures to make big news in the Bigfoot world through Facebook, that look at this sighting that's out of Alabama, and then another page is going to say it's out of Connecticut, another page is going to say it's out of South Dakota, another page is going to say it's out of Alabama.
Yeah.
And it's always the same picture that you saw 6 months ago from Las Vegas.
Right.
And then there's going to, you go back 6 more months and those pictures are being posted again, coming out of Arizona and Canada from up north, and the Guatemala and all this, craziness. That's one thing that you can count on, right? But one thing that does kind of shock me, and this is where I'm kind of, I don't know, maybe I'm talking to Jeff a little bit too much, and I wish I had some tinfoil here to put my hat on. But even the pictures I've never seen before, right? Like there was a really, really clear picture taken. And it was kind of making the rounds a couple days ago. And I actually posted it on the group and I said, "Hey, can you help this out?" Right.
Yeah.
And instantly
I
somebody came in. Somebody came in and actually the original poster of it from another group came in and said, "Oh, it's from a mockumentary." And I've never heard of this mockumentary. Never heard of it. And I'm not saying that I'm hearing of every single mockumentary of Bigfoot ever, but I dabble, right? And it just seems, and this isn't the only case. There's a lot of these things that go on, right? And I'm not going to know of every single thing out there, but it's every picture that hits the scene gets debunked like that. And it's just so quick, super, super quick, right? And all of a sudden, everyone's got all this evidence just piled up. And somebody in one of them made a comment of, "Yeah, the government got to this one too." And I'm like, government, right? So I'm reading the chain of conversation, and the guy's explaining. He's like, "Yeah, the government doesn't want anybody to know that Bigfoot exists. So whenever one of these really good pictures come out, all of a sudden now that it's from a mockumentary, and there's one really shitty website for this really shitty mockumentary that has these exact photos as the only thing that shows up when you Google this mockumentary." And I'm like, wow. So I Googled the mockumentary, and what shows up? Only the pictures that are in that Facebook post. Nothing else. Can't find where to watch it. Can't find where it was made, when it was made, anything. Just pictures from the mockumentary. Can't find it. Can't find it on YouTube. Can't find nothing. So the question that came to my head is somebody out there, like, is their job to sit there and comb through all these stupid Facebook pages of, these desk cryptozoologists that are just finding pictures on the web and just posting it on the Facebook? Is their job to sit there and debunk these before they get hot, before anybody takes a chance? I mean, who knows? Maybe we've seen a dozen pictures of a real Bigfoot, but it's been debunked before it got too hot, and all the evidence was thrown out there.
I think Denver's right, man. I think the government has more incentive to say that they exist than they don't exist.
Right.
Yeah.
You could take over more land. You could, you take over more land. You close off the bulk of the national parks to save money, if nothing else, right? You can save some of your resources. I mean, I just don't get what is the incentive for the government to, unless it's like what you said, which I think is very far fetched, that there's tribes of these Bigfoots that want rights and land and everything. I mean, I just can't think what's the incentive for the government to, I mean, they're pretty busy, with regime change, with, printing money and, taking away our rights. And, I mean, they're pretty busy doing shitty stuff as it is, I think.
Yes, they have a lot. And I'm not saying that this is what I believe. Okay, I'm bringing it up.
I get it. I get it.
Conversation purposes, but our resident child has something to say. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
That's one comment from one guy who thinks it's the government. That
absolutely.
Who's saying that's not the same guy who made the pictures, made the shitty website, made the shitty mockumentary that doesn't exist, right? So
right.
I see where that guy's coming from, and I understand his thought process there, but I'm siding a little more with Denver here. What's the point? What is the gain here? There is no gain other than
control,
mass distraction and control, which they already have. So what's the point?
You need more.
But they can get more by saying he exists.
You could start a whole other 3-letter agency just because Bigfoot exists. They could siphon billions of dollars.
Yeah, it's called IRH.
Like you declare Bigfoot exists, right? Well, she is an endangered species, right? And every state in the union has Bigfoot sightings. So essentially now the government can tell you can't do anything with your land. I mean, you gain way more power by declaring Bigfoot an endangered species than you do by denying it. I mean, just think of all the bullshit you got to do to build a deck. I mean, now imagine it. Now imagine if the government said, well, you potentially might have a Bigfoot in your backyard, so we got to do an environmental impact study. I mean, they gain way more power by admitting Bigfoot exists.
I don't disagree with you. Now the only part of this that I do sort of believe in, I'm not going to even say sort of, there's got to be some reason why the topic's not taken seriously. And I'm only saying this from the point of view of somebody who truly does believe that when they were 9 years old, they saw a Bigfoot. Like I've said plenty of times on the show, it's not a mystery to me. I know they're out there. They're there. And it's not necessarily my job to convince others that it is there. But I do love to dive into the theories and everything. I don't think that the government is blocking off massive chunks of the national parks for things such as like portals to the underworld and stuff like that. I believe that Theodore Roosevelt, when he built or came up with the idea of the national park system, um, did have in mind some mythological creatures, and I think that Bigfoot may have been one of those, because in his book, The Wilderness Hunter, he tells a story of I'm not going to butcher the names right now, but somebody else's story involving a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And Theodore Roosevelt has been tied to many other cryptids, such as the snallygaster, wanting to actually go and hunt the thing, and Bigfoot itself. And I think that the whole national park system is tied into Bigfoot. That is something I do believe, because my sighting actually happened fairly close to not a national park, but it was definitely a plot of land where it was put aside by the government for sure.
What if the national parks, how you were saying that, like, we would give them land, rights to land and whatnot. What if that is already what the deal is?
That could be. But then you have to say that there had to have been intelligent conversations between human beings and Bigfoot. And I'm not one to subscribe to Bigfoot being in a human intelligence level.
It
I
would
just
also
don't.
mean a cover up, which
Which is
what again? What
normal.
gain is there?
I basically asked that question because when Denver sees those posts on Infinite Rabbit Hole, he's the first one to call bullshit, and I love that. So I figured I'd poke the bear today and get Denver all riled up. Denver, how do you feel? You feel good?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Good.
You get a little jaded with some of this stuff, like
It's good. It's
you
good.
just you get the people on Twitter and YouTube, like if you're just like, well, you just mention the obvious, right? That, well, hey,
Right.
there's really no definitive evidence. And I mean, I've had people like accuse me of like being a paid shill for the government. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like
Me too, yeah.
like I would definitely do that, if there was like some guy paying me, anybody out there. But like it's like, dude, I believe in Bigfoot. I'm just not gonna sit here and cry government cover up just because we've not found any definitive evidence.
Shout out Digital Assassin for the shill comment.
Fuck
Yeah.
that guy.
We have also been
Oh,
both
boy.
shills and pogs.
Yeah.
But
Hog
no.
ballers.
I'm
Because
one
we
that
know-
believes I am more in the flesh and blood camp. And I don't necessarily believe that there's too much conspiracy behind the topic of Bigfoot, but I do believe that the government is aware of their existence. And there is, for some reason, why they're just not talking about it. I don't know what it is. Couldn't tell you. Honestly, don't have any wild imagination ideas about why. I do find it kind of funny that there's massive chunks of national parks cut off. But I'm pretty straightforward with my beliefs on Bigfoot. I'm just happy that I got to poke the bear a little bit there, Denver. Thank you.
That's always fun.
Does anybody have any questions for Denver before we cut him out of here?
Only thing I would like to say, as I said earlier, Denver, next time you're down here in Florida, give me a shout. Maybe we'll do that Casadega trip and go look for some ghosts over there, man.
Yeah,
Might be fun.
definitely, man. I will be back to Florida at some point, so I'll look you up.
Sounds good.
I just landed a job in Wisconsin, so if you're ever up there, let me know.
Okay, yeah, I'll. I actually probably will be up there in the summer sometime.
Hey, that's when I'm going to be there. All right, cool. Denver, why don't you go ahead and take a moment to drop all your information, let people know where they can find you, where they can follow you, where they can contact you, where they can see your bright and smiling face every day. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, I'm most active on Twitter. So if you want the best interaction, Twitter _ Denver Michaels. I've got a Facebook page, author Denver Michaels. YouTube channel that nobody really subscribes to. Just look author Denver Michaels on YouTube, and my website, denvermichaels.net. And you can find all my books on Amazon.
Right on. And
Nice.
then before you go, I have to do the shameless thing and get you to say hello to my mom.
Oh, I forgot. I meant to do that in the opening. But hello, Mrs. Jeremy's mom. Good to talk to you again.
And then go ahead and say hey to Danny, too. Danny!
Yay!
What up, Dan?
Danny's a big fan of you, too. No, Denver, always a pleasure, man. It was nice to get a little bit more background on you. And next time, I mean, I still didn't ask half my questions. So, we'll let some time pass by and we'll get you back on here, and we'll pick up right where we left off, man.
Yeah, man. Anytime y'all want to talk, you know how to get a hold of me.
Well, I appreciate you. Does anybody else have anything to say before I log off?
Go buy Denver's books.
Yeah, for real.
They are awesome. And I'm kind of one-sided here because I love books, but Denver does such a good job at mixing the world of things that we talk about all the time in with history. And if you have any interest in history, and obviously if you're listening to this show, you have an interest in the paranormal and supernatural, he's the guy you need to go check out his stuff. Okay, Denver Michaels. His books are all over Amazon. Super easy to find. They're great reads, and he's super easy to talk to. I mean, when I first reached out to Denver, he was extremely fast to say, yes, I'll come on your show, even when we were an unproven little nothing show. And he came on and talked to me like we were old friends. And here we are over a year later, and I have had him on the show for the third time now. And it won't be the last. So, Denver, thank you so much once more for not only coming on now, but coming on in the past, and lighting up the Infinite Rabbit Hole group page with all your awesome articles that you find and the blogs that you post. Thank you so much. And on behalf of everybody here, I would like to say thank you to the listener and the viewer over at watching the Paranormal Network right now. Thank you for checking us out, hanging out with us. Go find us on Facebook. Put a comment in the video that you're watching right now. If you're watching this on the Paranormal Network on YouTube, let us know. Let us know, what do you think? Do you think that the government is hiding Bigfoot? Is there something that we did not talk about? Do you have a reference? Do you have somebody else's podcast or somebody else's video that they really dove into the topic so that we can check it out? Maybe we can get them on the show to kind of combat us and talk about how they believe that Bigfoot is being hidden by the government. Let us know if you want to, or just say hey, just say hello. We're watching it. We're watching the comment section, and we're gonna reach back out to you. There's plenty of ways to conversate with us. We're super easy, super friendly, and we love talking to people about these strange subjects. So do not hesitate. Hit the subscribe button for the Paranormal Network and leave us a comment. Talk to us.
And send us a voicemail.
And send us a voicemail. Thank you.
The voicemail.
Yes, Denver, this goes for you too. Go to infiniterabbithole.com, click on the microphone at the bottom right-hand corner, and leave us a voicemail. This is how we want you to say, okay? Hey, this is so-and-so, the host of whatever. Or if you're not a host, then you just say, hey, I'm so-and-so from Las Vegas, Louisiana, and you're listening to the Infinite Rabbit Hole. And we're going to put your voice at the beginning of the show. If you own a business, put the name of your business. It's free advertisement. I don't care what you do. We just like to get your voice on the show here as well.
Tell us how great we are if you want. Tell us how great you are.
Or tell us how bad we are. We're still going to put it there.
Yeah.
Digital Assassin, this is your chance.
Do it.
We'll put some hate mail up. That'd be funny.
It would be fun. Hey, this is so-and-so, and you're listening to the shittiest podcast in the world, the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Good luck. But all right, that's it. I'm not going to sit here and just keep talking and listening to my own voice because I love it.
Thank God.
Yeah, you do that usually
kidding.
anyway, but
You
Yeah.
talk a lot, Jeremy.
Yeah. definitely.
Thanks, guys. On behalf
love
of
ya.
everybody here at the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast and the Paranormal Network, we'd like to say thank you for listening to this episode. We'll see you next time, in the next path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Bye.
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 Never say bye.
Bye.